Greetings, friends, and welcome to the long-awaited continuation of the Yes Vinyl Collection series that we started here on the Yes Music Podcast. A while back, I had done a look at the first record, a debut, and the second album, Time in a Word, and for a long while, we didn't go back to doing that. But I feel personally that it's important to kind of document these records, especially since we're a Yes podcast. Talking about these vinyls might be helpful for people who might be joining the podcast now, might be not so familiar with some of the Yes material, or even for some people who are, but might not be familiar with the vinyl end of things. So I think it's going to be important to document more of these records. So let's take a look at the next record in the series, which is the Yes album. Now, the Yes album is a very important album for Yes. It shows, well, it has the inclusion now of Steve Howe. Peter Banks is no longer in the band anymore, and this is the first record that broke the top 30 for them in the UK, and they did their first tour of America on this album, and it has songs that are, deemed classic by Yes fans, and even by just progressive rock people in general. You have Starship Trooper, Yours Is No Disgrace, Perpetual Change, and of course, I've Seen All Good People, which are the main big boys on this record. And of course, you have The Clap, which is Steve Howe's solo guitar piece, and you have Adventure, which is a really cool piano-centric sort of song that they do on the record. So, great album. And I have a few pressings of this album. Some interesting ones. So let's get on with it now and talk about some of these pressings. Now, the first one I'm going to talk to you guys about is a pressing that, and if you can see me looking down here, it's because I'm referring to my notes. I have quite a bit of notes here for these things, so don't mind me if I'm looking down. This first record I'm going to talk to you guys about is one that comes with a bit of a warning. So this is the 2003, now let me get it out of plastic here. This is the 2003 reissue of the Yes album. Okay, this was released by Rhino Music. Okay, nicely done. The gatefold's nice and everything looks really cool and well done. Very sturdy. It's not flimsy or anything. The vinyl here, let's grab it here. 180 gram vinyl. It's pretty solid. Okay. Yeah, it's thick vinyl. Now, all signs should be leading to say that this is going to be a great pressing of the album, and it's not. This is actually one I would recommend that you steer away from. This one was done by Ron McMaster, who's usually a 50-50 guy as far as mastering and lacquer cutting goes, in my opinion. And very, very disappointed with this one. The mid-range is not good on this. It kind of has that sound what people talk about when they say that it sounds like somebody put a blanket over your speakers. That sort of sound to it. It's not very clear. The soundscape is not the greatest on this. I would recommend to steer away from this pressing. This is the 2003 US reissue pressing. So it's not very often that I have a pressing that I talk negatively about, but this is one of those times where I will be talking negative about it. Okay, next up, pardon me, just give me a second here. Next up, we have a very cool pressing of this record, one that I'm very happy to own, and one that's becoming increasingly difficult to find, even here in Canada. Now, this is the 1971 Canadian first pressing. This is the first pressing of the record. Now, of course, it looks a little beat up. Of course, this is a very old album at this point now. But all things considered, it's very sturdily made. Things to look for when you're looking for this pressing. At the bottom, it says here that it's manufactured by Warner Brothers here. at the very bottom. Yeah, there. And it's what identifies this record as a first pressing has nothing really to do with the album itself as far as the information on the gatefold. What you need to do, and this is where it's a bit tricky, is you'll know by the center labels of this record, because these ones, when you have a first pressing, they come on these Atlantic red labels. This is how you know you have a first pressing of this album. Now, this record sounds really, really good. Now, sure, there's a few pops and clicks here and there. Nothing major. I'm very lucky because, like I said, this record came out in March of 1971 in Canada, and Canadian pressings sometimes are not deemed as some of the best ones, but this one is really good. I mean, it sounds fantastic. Great bottom end, great mid-range punch. The clarity is good on it even after this amount of time. And the soundscaping is very good. The way it's panned out across the stereo spectrum, excellent. Really, really, really well done pressing of the album. Now, the next two, to me, are the ones that you want to really search for, in my opinion. The Canadian one here is going to be a long shot to find, in my opinion. It's not easy to find, especially if you're searching in used record stores. You might be able to find it if you go to Discogs and look it up. There might be some available. But these next two, I think, are ones that'll be more likely to get, and these ones are really, really good. So the next one we're going to take a look at is the 1973 German reissue pressing. Now this one has a laminated cover. The other ones didn't. Very nice and shiny. On the back of this one, which kind of makes it interesting, is that it says it's a product of Kinney Music Hamburg. Now, if you see that down there, it's right here. This little text right here. Sorry, right there where my middle finger is. That's where it says the Kinney pressing. That's an identifying mark for this particular pressing. And let me just take this out of the sleeve. Now you'll be able to see this has a sort of red and orange label to identify the German pressing, and also at the very bottom you'll see there, in the white area there where it says Gamma, that's a dead giveaway of a German pressing. And of course, the information as far as the serial number is important as well, which is ATL 40106. Now, this one was done, and in the dead wax, that's one of the things you need to look at. In the dead wax, it says manufactured in Germany, and it also has a PF in the dead wax, which indicates that it was done at a specific plant. Now I'll read the information because I have it here for you. The PF indicates that it is pressed at Teldec Pressing, and the lacquer was cut at Deutsche Grammophon, and well, that's where it was probably the metal parts were done, but I think the lacquer was cut at this Tune Studio PEMS, P-F-A-N-Z, PEMS, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I may be wrong, but that's what the PF stands for. When you see that in the dead wax, that means that the lacquers were done there. And I can tell you now that this is the records I listen to the most. This is my listening record. It sounds amazing. It sounds better to me than the Canadian one, mainly because it's not as old. Maybe 2 years difference is not a big deal, but it's been kept better overall. Like when I received it was in better condition. And again, the high end on this is a little clearer. The bottom end not as strong, but it's still very good. The mid-range fantastic, and the stereo spread perfect. It sounds great. If you want to get it, and the great thing about it is if you look at the Discogs here, the highest price that this record has sold for, and that was in October of 2021, is $26. That's a good deal for this record. So if you want to get a good pressing of the German one, that's the one to get. Now I have one more to show you, and this one to me is sort of the, I'm not going to say holy grail. I would say that the holy grail is probably an original UK first pressing. But this one is really highly regarded amongst collectors and especially amongst audiophiles. This is the 2015 Friday Music reissue. It's not laminated, but it's like a nice textured, well, not textured, but like a nice cardboard cover here. Now, there's the Friday Music emblem down here. Now, what makes this pressing sought after and wanted by many collectors, and right now on Discogs, the highest price that it's gone for, excuse me, the last one that sold was in September, and it went, the highest bid was $173. The median price is $88. So this is approaching $100, this record. Why is this one going? It's a US one. What's so special about it? Well, I'll show you. This is a 45 RPM pressing. So as you can see here, I don't know if you can make that out, but Yours Is No Disgrace is the only song on this side. Okay? When you flip it to side 2, the only two songs that are on side 2 is The Clap and Starship Trooper, because this is a 45 RPM pressing. Now, some people frown on these pressings because they're like, oh shit, I have to, after one song, I have to get up now and flip the record. Well, if that's going to be an issue, get the German pressing. But if you don't mind getting up and flipping sides, then you're going to have one hell of an audio experience. I'm going to tell you, this is incredible. I mean, so good. I mean, some people have said that, you know, apart from owning the master tapes and having a reel-to-reel machine, you're probably not going to get a better audio experience for this record than this. I would even say, honestly, I prefer this to the Steven Wilson reissues that were done on CD not long ago. This is better. Okay, here's side 3. Okay, and side 3 has I've Seen How Good People and Adventure on there, and side 4 here is just Perpetual Change on this side. So the advantage of having a 45 RPM pressing is that they can make the grooves more solid, bigger, denser, better transfer of information, audio information, and it just sounds incredible. 45 RPM pressings are the way to go in my opinion, but like I said, not a lot of people like them because it's a lot of work getting up and, you know, one song is done 9 minutes later or 10 minutes later, I gotta flip the side again. If you don't mind that, this is the one to have. If you mind that, I recommend the German pressing. And that's my look at the Yes album. Next time when I'm back, we'll be taking a look at the Fragile album, and I have a few really nice pressings of that one. So I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye for now.